When I married Daniel 3 years ago, my life changed in ways I never imagined. I had been a single woman in my early 30s, working full-time as a nurse in a busy hospital in Dallas, Texas. Life had been hectic and lonely, but when I met Daniel, a kind and dependable architect, everything seemed to finally make sense. He had a teenage son named Ethan from his first marriage. At the time, Ethan was 14, and like most teenage boys, he was shy, reserved, and often locked away in his room with his video games. At first, I wasn't sure how to connect with him. I wasn't his mother, and I didn't want to overstep my role. But I did want to be a steady presence in his life, someone he could turn to if he needed advice, help with school, or just someone to talk to when life felt overwhelming. Slowly, over time, I noticed small breakthroughs. He'd start leaving his door open when I walked by, he'd help me unload groceries without being asked, and sometimes he'd even join Daniel and me for movie nights. These little gestures meant a lot. They showed me that maybe, just maybe, Ethan was beginning to accept me. One Saturday afternoon, after working back-to-back shifts at the hospital, I came home completely exhausted. My back ached from hours of being on my feet, and I collapsed onto the couch, rubbing my shoulders absent-mindedly. Daniel wasn't home, he had gone to Houston for a work presentation and wouldn't be back until late Sunday night. It was just Ethan and me in the house. Ethan came downstairs, carrying a bowl of cereal even though it was already the middle of the afternoon. "You look tired," he said softly, surprising me. Normally, he didn't comment much about how I looked. I laughed weakly. That's an understatement. 12 hours at the hospital yesterday, and another 10 today. My back feels like it's been run over by a truck. He hesitated for a moment, then asked, "Do you want me to help? Like, massage your shoulders or something?" I was taken aback by the offer. It was unusual for him to volunteer like that. But the truth was, my back really did hurt, and I didn't want to refuse his attempt to be kind. "Actually, yeah," I said with a small smile. "If you don't mind, that would be amazing." I sat on the couch while Ethan stood behind me, awkwardly placing his hands on my shoulders. At first, his movements were clumsy, like he wasn't sure what he was doing. But after a few moments, he seemed to find a rhythm, pressing gently but firmly against the tension in my muscles. I let out a sigh of relief. "Wow, Ethan, you're actually pretty good at this." He chuckled nervously. "I guess I watched a video once. Dad always complains about his back after working late." I closed my eyes, enjoying the unexpected comfort. But then, out of nowhere, Ethan's voice grew shaky. "Can I tell you something?" I opened my eyes and straightened slightly. There was something in his tone, something heavy, as if he had been holding this in for a long time. "Of course," I said, turning a little to face him. "You can tell me anything." He froze for a moment, his hands still resting on my shoulders, then pulled back and sat down on the chair across from me. His face was pale, his cereal forgotten on the coffee table. "I haven't told Dad," he whispered. "I haven't told anyone. But I can't keep it in anymore." I felt my stomach twist with worry. "Ethan, what's wrong?" He looked down at his hands, fidgeting nervously. "There's something going on at school. Something bad. And I don't know what to do." I leaned forward, giving him my full attention. "What's happening?" For the next hour, Ethan opened up in a way I had never seen before. He told me about how he had been bullied at school, not just by a couple of kids, but by a group that seemed to target him every single day. They made fun of his clothes, his quiet nature, and even the fact that his parents were divorced. It had escalated from teasing to shoving in the hallways, tripping him in the cafeteria, and even stealing his homework. I felt anger rise in my chest. How had I not noticed? How had Daniel not noticed? Ethan had always seemed quiet, but I never realized that behind that silence was fear and pain. "It gets worse," he said, his voice trembling. "One of the guys, he recorded me in the locker room. Just changing after gym. He said if I told anyone, he'd post it online." My heart broke. Ethan's eyes welled with tears, and I could see the weight he had been carrying all alone. I reached over and took his hand gently. "Ethan, listen to me. This is not your fault. What they're doing to you is wrong, and it has to stop." "But if Dad finds out," he started. I shook my head firmly. Your dad loves you. And so do I. We're not going to let anyone hurt you. We'll figure this out together.